supposed to sit further away from
Yeah.
Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I can start?
Yeah.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to this update on the coronavirus held together by the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. We are joined by two permanent secretaries from the Ministry of Health and the coordinator for disaster management. I'll just give a few remarks before the minister can give us an update. First of all, I wish to reiterate what I stated yesterday, that unless you see a statement generated from these press conferences, then actually consider it as fake. Unless you see a statement generated from this press conference, then consider it as fake. We will actually be having another press briefing at this time again tomorrow, hopefully at about 11:30. You recall that the Minister of Health on Saturday informed the nation that he had signed 2 SIs, and as a result of those SIs, that it was very important that all public places, public buildings, had washing facilities to ensure that everybody entering that building had sanitized their hands, and this is what we've actually done here, and we congratulate all of you that you're able to adhere to those requirements. This is for every place, whether it's a market, it's the police station, it's restaurants, it's bars, it's health centers. There needs to be hand washing facilities for the people. The minister also did tell us last Saturday that he had discouraged people traveling out of Zambia, and this is for our own benefit to try and keep us safe. That was part of the press brief on Saturday. On Saturday, the minister also emphasized personal hygiene. It doesn't matter if you're a waiter, you're a barman, you're an officer in an office, you're a secretary, you're a PS, you're a minister, even His Excellency the President. We all have to adhere to personal hygiene, washing our hands regularly, and having sanitizers so that we keep our hands clean all the time. At the last update yesterday, the minister did announce that government was bringing forward the closing of schools, baby classes, nurseries, primary schools, secondary schools, colleges, universities, to this Friday. And all that is an effort by government. These have been preemptive measures by government to ensure that we keep the population safe. We have another press briefing today, and now I would like to introduce Honorable Chifia to give us what is the latest as far as the coronavirus is concerned. Minister.
Thank you so much, Honorable. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister of Information and Broadcasting, Honorable Doris Leah. I recognize the presence of the Honorable Minister of Information and Broadcasting, Honorable Doris Leah, Permanent Secretaries in the Ministry of Health, and the Office of the Vice President. I recognize the World Health Organization Country Representative, Dr. Akaita, and all the UN family. I recognize the UN coordinator, the UN coordinator and all the UN agency heads, you know, the WHO and the UNICEF, you know, heads. I recognize the UN, you know, country coordinator. I recognize the CDC country director, Simon, and I do recognize other cooperating partners, colleagues from the press, and and distinguished delegates. This morning, Wednesday, 18th March 2020, His Excellency the President of the Republic of Zambia and our Honor the Vice President, Honorable Inongo Wina, were updated on the status of the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, globally and in Zambia. And I am now a bearer of a message from His Excellency the Republican President, Dr. Edgar Chagwa-Lungu, to inform the nation that Zambia has confirmed its first 2 cases of COVID-19 virus. The patients are a Zambian couple that traveled to France on a 10-day holiday with their 2 children. They came back and they passed through our international airport, and because of our alert surveillance system, the travel history did pick that they passed through a country where COVID-19 cases were on the rise. For this reason, both the father, the mother, and their 2 children were placed under self-quarantine. 24 hours later, our alert surveillance officers made a follow-up to the couple, and they found them observing the self-quarantine rules, and they did find out that one of the members of the family did develop a fever and a flu. They conducted tests, and the test results were released this morning, and the 2, the mother, the father, have laboratory confirmed COVID-19. These parents and the 2 children, like I alluded to earlier, traveled to France on a 10-day holiday and returned back to Zambia on March the 15th, 2020, amid Emirates Airlines. As we speak, the couple and the 2 children have been isolated in our designated isolation facility in Chilanga, and they're receiving appropriate treatment. I must assure the nation that only the man was asymptomatic. The wife has been asymptomatic, and as we speak, even the husband is on the mend and no longer has a flu and no longer has a fever. We must place on record our appreciation for our gallant men and women who are doing surveillance and disease intelligence at the ports of entry, the health workers who are working day and night executing disease intelligence and surveillance activities at all ports of entry, and who picked out these members, these citizens. The measures they put in place demonstrate how sensitive our surveillance system is. On the Monday that followed the self-quarantine of this couple and their 2 children, our surveillance officers did visit the family and did find that the couple, one of the members of the family had symptoms, and they did conduct the tests, and like I said earlier on, the test results are now confirmed as COVID-19 positive. I'd like to reiterate that COVID-19 infection will present with symptoms of a flu, a fever, a headache, and should the case progress, could actually present with organ failure, including renal failure and death. As we speak, 3 members of the family remain without symptoms. 3 members of the family, that is the wife and the 2 children, remain asymptomatic, The husband who was symptomatic just a day after being admitted in the country has also become asymptomatic. The fever has receded, the headache has receded, the flu has receded, and is on firm track to recover. And I wish to take this opportunity to acknowledge the positive response and cooperation from the Zambian public and incoming travelers in adhering to the key measures that the Ministry of Health and government in general have put in place to prevent and control COVID-19. The people that we're placing under self-quarantine are regularly calling our surveillance officers to betray the symptoms that they present with. And tests are being conducted, and these test results are coming out negative, or, as in the last 2 cases, positive. I also want to thank the various stakeholders, such as the churches, the traditional leaders, civil society, schools, and training institutions for their continued support and adherence to the guidance. We have heard and confirmed reports that the establishment has postponed the Kuomboka ceremony in line with the guidance. We want to appreciate their sensitivity. We want to appreciate the Ministry of Education for putting off the launch of the STEM program, where we had more than 1,500 participants. I want to appreciate the Ministry of Education for putting off a program in Chirundu, which had a lot of participants, in excess of 500. This is as it should be. We appreciate the various stakeholders that have put off important events, such as the Farmers National Union, that have put off the Agri-Tech for 2020 and have put it to a date that will be announced in due course. Government appreciates the church that immediately after the pronouncement in the last briefing released circular to their various constituents, guiding on the importance of prevention and on the importance of preventing gatherings for a long period of time. We appreciate the church. We appreciate the traditional leaders who have worked through the village headmen to sensitize the public. Government appreciates the support from cooperating partners who continue to provide technical, financial, logistical, and material support to our national preparedness and response efforts to COVID-19. These include, but not limited to, the American government through the American CDC, the UN family and its various UN agencies, led by the World Health Organization and the UNICEF, the British government through DFID, the World Bank, the Chinese government, the Japanese government, the European Union, and many other cooperating partners, including the Swedish government. I now make a call to the public to adhere to the measures that were announced in our last press briefing. Avoid unnecessary travel to COVID-19 high-risk countries. Avoid public gatherings. These include bars, restaurants, and even places of worship. Avoid handshakes. Even when people are donating money, don't shake their hands. Ensure hygiene at personal level and at community level. Hand washing is critical. Cleaning your environment is fundamental. It is important to ensure that for those who are symptomatic and have a flu or a running nose, they stay home. And as they cough, they create a barrier by putting their hands or a mask on the nose and the mouth to avoid droplet infections contaminating members of the public. Let us ensure that we observe these measures as outlined in Statutory Instrument 21 and 22. The media, again, I reiterate the message from my colleague from Information and Broadcasting to ensure that we report accurately and avoid reporting alerts as cases. Avoid alarming the public. And let us work together to ensure community sensitization. Communication on the COVID-19 outbreak shall be done through press conferences, followed by press statements. And in the true spirit of a multi-sectoral approach to health that His Excellency President Edgar Chagwa Lungu has embraced, you will see honorable ministers from various sectors appearing on one platform in a one government approach, in a multi-sectoral approach to health, stating what government position is. Let us avoid false rumors that circulate through social media platforms and wait for official communication. Distinguished delegates, members of the press, I would like to emphasize that the COVID-19 disease carries only 2% mortality, and most of the persons that are infected globally recover. Therefore, reporting 2 cases in Zambia out of a family that went on a holiday, 10-day holiday to France, should not cause panic. Life should go on as usual. We have put measures in place to promote prevention of human-to-human transmission. Compliance with these measures will protect the whole nation from a possible outbreak or transmission of human to human. Mortality still stands at 2%. Most cases that succumb to COVID-19 are either immunocompromised or the very elderly. As we speak, the only case that is symptomatic, that was asymptomatic, or that carried signs or symptoms and signs in Zambia, today as we speak, is asymptomatic. And put simply, he had a flu, he had a fever, he had a running nose, and he had a fever, and as we speak today, already the running nose has stopped. The high temperature has receded or stopped and is stable. That tells you what the natural progression of this disease is. Therefore, there should be no panic. Government will review measures that it's put in place informed by the pandemic. And we shall continue to be in touch with the public through you, the press, and ensure that the public is protected from the potential threat of COVID-19. Osayopa kuti ichi chifine chile chipa abantu iyayi. Mwilati nati chichifine chikalaipa ya abantu wonse iyo. tisunge timvese maningi malango yamene yakamba boma, kusamba kumanja, kunkhala mumalo opanda doti, kusunga malo yonse kopanda doti, tulesunga inchende yonse otwikelemo ukwabula ifisoso angula ifintu fyakutila fileleta abantu besu kuti bakwate ububwafya bwa chifine. Mutapenge kuklina buyo. Clean your hands, wash your hands, and make sure that you maintain the environment clean. That's basic. Wash your hands, clean your environment. Anybody with a symptom, aliwonse ankala na chifine na mutu baba na ngutupyapya msanga yala manambala amene muona pachipupa, tumani phone bazabwera bantu manyumba yanu kuona kuti batenga aba bantu bapereka kumala yakuti bazabatandiza. Let us take advantage of the numbers that you've seen as emergency call numbers. For those people who develop a cough, dry cough, a flu, a fever, and they have a history of travel to high-risk countries, or they have been in contact with people who travel to high-risk countries, call those call numbers and we'll send our technical staff and they'll be able to transport you to appropriate places where you'll be isolated, investigated, and managed should you be positive. Together, we can fight this pandemic. If only we all observe the rules of prevention, hand hygiene, community hygiene, ensuring that we report any symptoms to public health authorities, ensuring that we support early detection so that the people who have symptoms and require isolation and management are quickly and managed. That way, Zambia will not have this pandemic spread. I emphasize, for those of you who are coming into the country as returning citizens, if you have transited through countries where the COVID-19 virus has ravaged the population, you will go immediately into 14-day quarantine. And we'll follow you up for symptoms and we'll test you. We continue to emphasize the need for us to avoid travel to high-risk countries. Non-essential travel to high-risk countries must be avoided. It is for this reason that government continues to emphasize the need for all embassies to review the visas that they are issuing to traveling passengers. It is for this reason that we will emphasize that pre-departure screening and screening for patients that have transited through countries that have been hit by COVID-19 will be intensified. It is for this reason that Zambia will intensify screening at ports of entry. It is for this reason that all aeroplanes, buses that come into Zambia will be subjected to specific measures to promote infection prevention. For those of you who are coming by road from South Africa, we have identified a place where you're going to disembark from, and you will be met by surveillance officers who will screen you, get your details, and follow up on you. we emphasize that collective action on infection prevention, on community hygiene, will prohibit or will stop human-to-human transmission. Let us all as a collective push towards that. His Excellency the President of the Republic of Zambia, Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, has pitched health security as a top priority in his health system's transformation agenda. And for this reason, he has taken this threat of the COVID-19 outbreak as a very grave one. And it is for this reason that he has ordered my colleague, the Minister of Information, who is the Chief Government Spokesperson, and myself as Minister of Health, to update the public on the measures that he has ordered. The President has been proactive, and even before we recorded cases, he ordered measures that ensured prevention. The President is watching the situation closely, and in due course will cause the release of information measured to the state of the epidemic, or the pandemic rather. I want to assure the nation that we will update you regularly on the state of the epidemic, and we will meet, as the Minister of Information said, again at 11:30 we'll release the information that shall be as guided by His Excellency the President of the Republic of Zambia. I thank you.
We'll take, we're not supposed to stay for long, eh? So we'll take critically a few questions. We'll take 3 at a time, one at a time. So we'll start with Angola, then there's a gentleman there, and then, yes.
My name is Angola Sidlo from Beremisi. I would like to find out the age of the two patients and then where exactly they
Minister of Information. I would like government to clarify reports the University of Lusaka has been exempted from closing this Friday and will continue offering lessons to students. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Honorable Ministers. My name is Winston Mambor from Diamond TV. I'd like to find out if the whole government is considering to supplement or help corporations with liquidity, considering the fact that the COVID-19 has been identified as a corporate killer, if not curbed. So are there any considerations in that regard to make sure with liquidity these corporations are supplemented?
Okay, thank you. We can take in some more Congo. Then,
Good afternoon. Just following up on the couple, and just want to find out what tracking mechanism have you put in place, especially for those who were probably on the same flight and those who were in contact with the couple.
yes.
Good afternoon, Honourable. I'd like to find out the age of the children and also how they're faring as well. You gave a specific update on the parents, but we don't know about the children. I'd like to know.
Okay, that is similar to one that was asked. I think that should be given. Okay, let me have the last one before our honorables can.
Good afternoon, Minister. My name is now that Zambia has confirmed at least 2 cases, my question is on the part of public transport, what measures are you putting in place? It being that if you look at the Heist bus, you will have over 15 people on board. Any restrictions on that?
Honorable Ministers, those are the questions.
Thank you. Okay, I'll try and address the 3 questions out of the 5. I think starting with one from, I think it was Ms. Kwangu. Obviously, we had already put in place a screening process at the airports. The minister did announce this yesterday and even on Saturday that we had already put in place, even before any cases were confirmed, a very robust screening place. And this is why people were being followed even after they have arrived at the airport, followed at home to ensure that we tested and made sure that there were no cases. So even before these cases were confirmed, there was already a very, very active process at the airport. But clearly now that these people flew in on Sunday on a particular aircraft, I believe it was Emirates on Sunday, clearly the Ministry of Health has been busy following up on all those who were passengers and disembarked in Zambia, because we have the manifest. So they've been following up since they realized that there were people who were suspect as far as coronavirus was concerned on that aircraft, and they're being followed up. I'm sure the minister will elaborate on that one. On the matter of UNILAS being exempted, I think the Ministry of Higher Education and General Education yesterday was very, very clear that all schools this Friday will close. Baby class, primary, secondary, colleges, and universities. So as far as government is concerned, all schools are going to close. Corona pandemic, I think we've all seen that it has a real impact on economies everywhere, big economies, small economies. And even in Zambia, we are quite concerned. I know the Minister of Finance, I did speak with him yesterday, and he's busy putting together some information on what would be expected impact. Even before we had the confirmed cases announced today, I think people have been quite jittery, and the Minister of Health has been encouraging all of us to keep away from shopping malls, from bars, from restaurants, and now schools are closed. So it means that there will be impact on the economy in general, and even at household level. And I believe that very soon you will see the Minister of Finance come and join us here on this press conference so that he can share with you some of his thoughts. We had quite a long chat yesterday with His Excellency the President, the Minister of Finance, Health, myself and other ministers, including Her Honor the Vice President. So all these are very live issues, and I think that in due course you'll get the Minister of Finance to share with us what he predicts to be the impact on the economy and what the government can do in response. Minister.
Well, for that comprehensive response. And colleagues, just to add to what Honorable Doris Leah has said, for all those who may have come into contact with members of this 4-member family, we're tracking them. We're tracking them for symptoms and testing them for the virus. This is as it should be, and that's public health practice. We want to emphasize that for those colleagues who traveled with these members of one family, we will contact them. We do allow filling in of forms when you reach the airport. And that is where the history is derived from, and their contact numbers. And we'll do contact tracing and make sure that we treat symptomatically all those individuals that may have come into contact with the couple. Furthermore, for those who may have come into contact but did not contract the COVID-19 virus, after a 14-day period, we'll reintegrate them into society. We will continue to work with airlines, the airports, to ensure that we screen thoroughly and disease intelligence and surveillance is enhanced. When you talk about the age of the children and the age of the adults, as we release information, we remain conscious of the need to be ethical in our practice of medicine, of the need to protect the privacy of the patients, and we will give out measured information relevant to the public, but not at the risk of breaching patient confidentiality or the trust that exists between practitioners of medicine and the patients. So for now, we will tell you that it's a family of 4, a mother and a father who became symptomatic, a mother who remains symptomatic, a father who is no longer symptomatic. The 2 children remain well, and that we have moved them to the isolation facility in line with this. Let me emphasize this, colleagues. When I say asymptomatic, mweba kwasu wakumawa tikuti opanda materi, opanda mutu, wama opanda chifine, opanda kudandaula, opanda visiviso vamatenda, mutu chifine ndiye asymptomatic mukwasu, ndiye asymptomatic. Mwaba nesu tuletilo kutila, alawa shikwete ifilela ngokutila nalwala yapala omutwe ichifine nango mubiri okukaba eba tulitila asymptomatic tabakwete ifishibiro. Kuina mbevo mutu ulajisa, kuina mbevo mubiri ulapia, kuina. Those are the people we're calling asymptomatic. They have no signs. Okay? When Dr. Roger Smalley hears me talking about signs as opposed to symptoms, he wants to start, reminding me of what the theory is. Excuse me. I am talking about symptoms relating to what the patient talks about, and signs relating to what you adduce as a practitioner. And for now, I'm addressing the public. And so, please, Dr. Roger Smalley. So I'm emphasizing here that the public must know that there are people who will be incubating as they come in, and there will be no fever as we screen at the airport. But because they're from high-risk countries or they transit through high-risk countries, our surveillance system is alert to pick them out, to follow them on. The fact that we've picked out these 2 cases shows how alert the system is. And for those of you who want to assess Zambia's response, we put in measures through the authority of His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zambia, Dr. Edgar Chagwalungu. On a Friday, way before we recorded the first case, he ordered measures to be put in place, including closure of schools. That shows how concerned the Republican President has been and how he's been closely following up this. And even as the epidemic or the pandemic evolves, he will be giving further instructions. Today, as we speak, we don't want no panic. No one should panic. The majority of patients who present with COVID-19 recover. Only 2% die. The majority recover. The majority just present with a common flu and a fever, a headache, and within a few days they recover. So no one should panic and think that when I get a flu and it's diagnosed as COVID-19, then I'm gone. No. That must be emphasized. And that's why even in our measured response as guided by the Republican President in his agenda for public health security, we will not alarm the public. We have cases that went for holiday and they came back. Clearly these are imported cases. And our surveillance system is alert enough to pick them up and they are being treated. And as we speak, even the one who had symptoms is now free of symptoms and clearly on firm track to recover. Therefore, let business continue as usual and adhere to the provisions that are in the statutory instrument. Avoid public gatherings, avoid bars, avoid public, restaurants, avoid taking too long in places of worship.
What about
Avoid.
buses was the question?
Sorry?
What about buses was the question from there?
Which buses?
Any buses?
Well, look, avoid unessential travel. You won't get yourself on a bus. If you don't need to travel, it's not like if you don't need we don't need foreign travel, stay back. So avoid unnecessary travel. I emphasize that for buses coming from outside jurisdiction, they will not disembark their passengers from the intercity. They will disembark their passengers from the intercity bus stop. They will disembark their passengers from a designated place called the dry port that has been availed to the Ministry of Health courtesy of Lamasati Investments, and we place on record our appreciation. And we have placed port health staff with gadgets to ensure that we pick out any prodromal symptoms so that those who are high risk are quickly whisked away to places where they're isolated. But colleagues, I want to emphasize that the alert surveillance and intelligence system that have been put in place as part of the transformational agenda that President Edgar Chagolunga has embarked on in the health sector is what is resulting in, one, ability to pick out the first cases, and two, protection of the public.
Next questions. Any more questions? Is that all? Let's take the last one.
We are not meant to stay here for long. In one room, they said, so we restrict, so take the last round of questions. And let us not be repetitive. I think some of the questions that are coming out were already addressed yesterday. So take the two here. Okay, take 1, 2, 3. Okay, 4, 5. Sorry, so you can start.
Good afternoon, Honorable.
Can you speak up, sir?
My question is directed to Minister of Information, the Chief Government Spokesperson. In light of this new development, we are told that PF will be holding its Lusaka Provincial Conference this Friday. But with this development, will the party go ahead with the conference?
That was attended to yesterday, so I don't know, maybe the minister will comment on that. That was done yesterday. Yes, sir.
My name is Nancy from Zambia. I think I just wanted to find out if it's possible to disclose the race of the couple and if the country has adequate testing.
Thank you, madam.
Good afternoon, ministers. My name is Sharon from ZNBC. I wanted to find out if you are considering reducing the number of people that are going to attend court cases because there are quite a number of people there. And the other one.
Just one question.
No, let her go ahead, please.
Okay. Then I'd like to find out as well. Is it possible for someone, if you are symptomatic, then you get healed, and then to show those symptoms again?
Yes, Chris.
My name is Chris Mflakai from Reuters. My question is for the Minister of Health. How much is the public adherence to this?
Thank you, and I saw Madam there.
Good afternoon, Honorable Minister. My name is Lexi. I'm a reporter from Port FM. I would love to seek clarity on the rest of the Zambian couple that have been tested positive, and also on whether the couple is in transit.
Thank you. The last one here, and then the honourable will respond to this. Can we keep quiet? Can you please ask your question?
My name is Michael from Daily Nation.
Hello, can we observe silence so that we can go through this process?
Of course, Barclays Bank will be hosting the biggest sporting event in Zambia this weekend, talking about the Barclays Cup. Would you advise them to go on, of course, having noted the need to avoid public gathering?
Thank you. I think we can take those, eh? Thank you. I will take the first one, then the minister can attend to the rest. The one about PF meetings, I think this is the same government that is discouraging large gatherings. They be political, they be social, they be business. It's the same government that is discouraging large gatherings. And if the PF had been planning on holding large gatherings, I am sure that they too will heed the call from government and lead by example, that there will be no large gatherings, because we want to ensure that health first for the people of Zambia. So that is the message. There are no exceptions. Everybody should heed the call by the Minister of Health and His Excellency, the President, that we are discouraging large gatherings so that we can contain this disease in Zambia, and we want to make sure that our people are safe. So that is the answer.
Well, thank you very much. The country is commodity secure in terms of test kits, thanks to the support of our cooperative partners, the US government and the American CDC, the UN family, the Japanese government and the Chinese government and the EU. We are commodity secure in terms of test kits. Secondly, we continue to attract support from our various cooperative partners to ensure that we are commodity secure. The race of the couple, disease knows no race, disease knows no boundaries, disease knows no age, and it is not our priority to discuss race. All we can tell you is that this is a couple with 2 children, a couple resident in Zambia that went on a holiday for 10 days to France and came back. And this situation is not peculiar to this couple. It is for this reason that I'll use this opportunity to emphasize the need for us to observe self-quarantine rules and for us to ensure we communicate regularly or on need basis to our surveillance staff to ensure that you are protected from progressing disease and you also protect the neighbor from further spread through human-to-human infection. We have a big tournament, APSA. Everyone organizing a public event is mandated to engage with us so that we can advise appropriately. We will, out of principle and in regard of public health tenets in an outbreak setup, contagious as it may be, not promote public gatherings. We will engage with relevant authorities in football to see how we could have a win-win situation, including the possibility of audience-less matches.
No audience.
Kopanda otamba mpila. We will engage with authorities to find out what their opinions would be. We are not dictatorial, but we put on the table the basic tenets of a public health response, and then we agree the way forward. So we will not here dictate and state that these matches won't take place, but we'll put on the table what the rules of engagement are, and like the way the Barroso Royal establishment have made their own decision, we expect the football authorities to live within the provisions of the Statutory Instrument and Public Health Act and ensure that they act in accordance. And where we need to engage, we will engage appropriately. And I must place on record our appreciation for all our partners in the community, in the corporate world, for their maximum cooperation.
I think the other question, Minister, was about how do we ensure compliance with all this. And I think the answer is that, look, this is multi-sectoral. It's just beyond, not just the Minister of Health, it's beyond the Minister of Health. We have all other ministers engaged. For example, if you're talking about compliance in public places, markets, bars, restaurants, other players include Ministry of Local Government, include Ministry of Transport. We're talking about buses and airports. So we have all ministers engaged, including the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Commerce for cross-border trade. How do we keep our people safe? And tomorrow, before the 11:30 press briefing, there will be a meeting with a number of ministers together so that we can all be engaged actively and share with the public what each of the line ministries is doing in ensuring that we disseminate this information. And that's why the minister keeps emphasizing that it's multi-sectoral, including Home Affairs, the police who deal with issues at borders and public order and security. So it's all of us as ministers, we are all engaged.
Thank you very much. Is there another round of questions?
Does
Yes.
immunization work, first of all?
Today, research has not adduced evidence to show efficacy of any vaccine. Today, we do not have any evidence or proof that there is a vaccine or a preventive drug that protects anyone from getting COVID-19. But we must state that our researchers are active in laboratories to pursue a vaccine. So for now, there is no vaccine, there is no drug that treats. And how we are managing people is through symptomatic treatment. Most of the people who are succumbing are elderly or have an underlying immunocompromising condition, meaning that the defense system for the body is weak, and therefore they are succumbing to an assault from the COVID-19 virus.
Honorable Minister, there was a question that requires clarification on whether once you're infected, you heal, and you get
The disease again.
the disease again.
What?
Infection.
Right. Usually, in most of these viral infections, influenzas, and a lot of viruses that we've dealt with, infection confers some immunity when you recover. However, the COVID-19 virus is a novel or new coronavirus, and these characteristics are still being brought out. So we will not allow that to thrive in the comfort zone of not being able to get COVID-19, or because you went home and you had a few symptoms and you went home, out of what you did, you became asymptomatic and therefore you feel safe. No. What we are saying is that while the basic principles of science dictate that an asymptomatic patient, a patient who has symptoms and also have laboratory confirmed diagnosis of certain viral infections, does confer immunity to the next attack. We don't have that evidence with this, and we will update the nation as evidence unravels.
Thank you so much, Honorable Ministers. That was the last round of questions that we had. Members of the press, distinguished delegates that are in this meeting, we've come to the end of the press briefing. But of course, we'll ask for the last words from the Honorable Ministers as we come to the end of this briefing. Honorable Minister, for your
Again, government just wants to put on record our gratitude to all those who are in the lead in helping the nation protect itself from the spread of coronavirus, the health workers, our cooperating partners, those who are working at our points of entry, the airports, the borders. We know that they've been so alert. It's the very reason that up to now we have not recorded any cases yet, and until today. I think the strong message today is if you have a cough, you have a flu, you have fever, please help us to help you by staying away from others and reporting using those toll numbers that are showing on the screen, so that we can address this. The only way we can address this is by all working together, all working together. We're encouraging people, please don't travel. If you don't have to travel, please don't, so that we can save ourselves. And I think lastly, I want to extend my real heartfelt gratitude to you, the media, because the work we've done, especially in the last 1 week, the citizens are watching and learning because you are making it possible. This is a national issue, the public interest issue, it's a patriotism issue, and we are all in this together, and I think the public really appreciates it. Seeing by the feedback we are getting from the public once this press briefing is over. So we'd really like to extend our gratitude to you, the media, for playing your role also and being in the lead. Thank you very much.
Before I give my concluding remarks, allow me to ask our key partners, the UN family through the UN coordinator, to say a few words. Thereafter, I'll ask the American CDC country director to say a few words. Would you like to come up here so that the media do not panic, changing their... And the media will give you a new voice for supporting you. Come through here.
Thank you. Get it, sit. There's a chair here as well. Oh,
Honorable Minister of Health, Honorable Minister of Information, Permanent Secretaries, representative of the UN agencies, WHO representative, UNICEF representative, the CDC director, permanent secretaries. On behalf of the UN family in Zambia, thank you very much for inviting us at this press briefing. We have been preparing for such a day, and the UN family has been supporting the government, the country preparedness, including the development of the country contingency plan, the procurement of PPE, the risk communications on strengthening surveillance systems, on WASH in health facilities, infection prevention control, on resource mobilization. We want today to express our solidarity as a UN family, and I'm sure I can talk on behalf of cooperating partners, our solidarity with the government of Zambia and with the people of Zambia. We are here to support and to stay and deliver in any way possible. Let's adhere to the public health measures that the minister, the honorable minister, just listed, including hand washing, social distancing, and reporting when unwell, staying home, and I will add, let's avoid stigmatization. Let's avoid stigmatization and just be together to support. Thank you very much.
Honorable Minister of Health, Honorable Minister of Information, UN Resident Advisor, media, members of the media, good afternoon. And thank you, Honorable Minister, for inviting us and including us as part of this. We would like to commend you and the government for the leadership and the response and preparedness for COVID-19. We know that, as the resident advisor here said, we have been expecting this. It's spreading throughout the world and it's affecting many countries. But we know that Zambia is prepared. The fact that you were able to pick up on these two cases indicates the level of preparedness that's there. And I'm proud, as part of the U.S. Embassy and as the CDC director, to have worked with your team to get them ready and to make sure that they can respond to those cases. What I would say is that we need to be vigilant and we need to continue to watch in case there are any cases that we don't know about, so we can pick up on those and intervene early on and prevent the coronavirus from spreading. In the next few days, our embassy leadership will be making an announcement of further support to the Zambian government. We're in this together. we're here with you, our families are here, so it's not just protecting the rest of Zambia, but it's also protecting ourselves. We want to commit our support to you. We will continue to work with your team to strengthen surveillance, to track those who came on that airline or any other one, or any other people that might be at high risk. We will also continue to work with you in strengthening the laboratory capacity and scaling that up so we have the capacity to test people who need tested. Once again, we would like to commend you for your leadership and for including us in this process. So thank you.
As we conclude today, let me place on record our profuse appreciation to my colleague, Minister, Honorable Donna Salia, Minister of Information, for addressing the press with me, guided by His Excellency the President of the Republic of Zambia, in a real multi-sectoral manner. Let me thank our cooperating partners, the American government, the UN family, and all other cooperating partners for appearing in this press briefing and also sharing their solidarity and also committing their support to the Zambian government's response. Let me emphasize that all returning diplomats and all returning citizens who are coming from high-risk COVID-19 high-risk countries should observe the rules of self-quarantine and should keep in touch with our colleagues. You are safer that way, you are making the public safer. Let us call when we have any symptoms. Let us work as a collective to ensure that local and international citizens are actually protected from any public health hazards. Let me place on record that government under His Excellency President Kachabolungu has placed public health as a very high priority and will do all it can to ensure that the public is protected from any public health threats. It's for this reason that the Zambia National Public Health Institute, that is doing a commendable job in the response, is working with all other line ministries in a multi-sectoral approach to ensure that the response to this threat is optimal. I want to thank all the members of the community who have worked with us, local and international travelers, local and international citizens who have been alert and have invited us to their home states to participate in screening processes and evaluation of their medical conditions. There should be no panic in the country. All is under control. There should be no panic. COVID-19 is a viral infection that causes mild disease in a vast majority, and that will progress to severe disease with end organ failure in 2%. We will not lock down because of COVID-19 unless we have evidence to do such. And we want to urge all Zambians to remain calm, observe basic tenets of public health, hand hygiene and washing, personal hygiene, and environmental cleanliness. Let us heed the call from His Excellency President Kachabolungu to scale up the cleaning up of our communities to ensure that we reduce the predisposition to a possible COVID outbreak. I thank the press for coming, and I thank the press for participating in community sensitization. Our two clients in isolation are asymptomatic today and are recovering well, and that's a good prognostic sign. And if there be measures to be escalated, you will be informed appropriately. Thank you so much for coming.